Hello, and welcome to the Nothing is Wrong with You book podcast. We are the book podcasters, Rebecca, Colleen, and Athena, and we're so excited that you're here with us today as we talk about books. The whole idea of this podcast is around sometimes the books that all the world loves and you don't get it. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all okay. Books are here for us to enjoy. Do not push yourself through just because other people like it. You can say, I don't like it, and put it aside and pick up another book. So we talk about all things books. So we start off the podcast by talking about what we're currently reading. And so I'm going to go first today. So I just finished The Wind Knows My Name by Isabell Allende. And I loved it. I thought that was a really interesting story. The way that it wove characters in time and the connection through there and the interconnectedness. I love things that, I feel like us in the world, we're all already so interconnected. And I love when stories bring that to light, that there's ways that things that you did in your life and even people you were connected to, it might not be a direct connect as in like, we're family, but there's something that you did that connects to something that somebody else did. And somehow it brings your narrative together. And I love moments like that. And at first, it went into a little bit of COVID, like there was lockdown, and sometimes I have an aversion to that because I'm like, lived it, don't want to read it. We're a little farther along than we were a few years ago, so it doesn't have that same visceral like, but she didn't stay in that space. It was merely just what was happening at the time. It was really, really character driven, which I think is so good for me.
It's our favorite. We love a character-driven novel.
Yeah, and then the other book I just started reading is Whidbey by T. Madden. Love her memoir, The Tribe of Fatherless Daughters, I think it is the title. I always get it wrong, but fabulous memoir. And so I've been following her ever since. 10 years, I think it took her to write this novel. And so it just came out, and so I'm loving it. And I just wanted to note, again, just started, so I can't even tell you too much about it. But she has the page at the beginning, right after like title, quotes. Everyone kind of put some quotes in a book, and it says, "Dear reader, if you would like the opportunity to review a content warning before reading, please see page 367." And so I really liked that, right? So I went and looked at 367. I mean, not that I felt like I needed a content warning, but as a writer and someone's like, oh, what did she end up doing in that space? I thought that was a good thing because, Colleen, you and I, we read some really intense stuff, especially in the memoir space. This is novel. And so I thought that was an interesting way to be like, hey, I'm going to be talking about things that just FYI.
Was that page the page where something happens in the novel, or was that a page where she put like a warning, but she put it at the end instead of like front loading it?
Yeah. Like it's literally
brilliant.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. So literally it's a chapter called Content Warning, and then says
my favorite thing, move things around.
Yes.
This is what I love talking about. Move things around.
So again, your whole idea about moving it around is that she could have very easily put this as a note from the author at the beginning and just been like, here's your content warning. But instead, she allows the reader to decide. Yes. Do you want to read this?
Like putting a pall over the whole experience.
Yeah. And again, my writer brain was, I'm going to go read it. I probably wouldn't have read it otherwise. But I was like, to your point, what is it? Is it a moment in the story? Like, what's happening on these? So even that in itself could get people to go read the content warning, because what does that mean? It's brilliant.
You're blowing my mind. That makes such good sense. I have it reserved at the library because, again, I need to stop buying books. But I'm like regret that I read her other book from the library and I don't have it. And Rebecca had to send me a photocopy of the end of it because it's informing how I'm writing my book. And so if I just had the book, I wouldn't have to do that. So I'm getting it from the library. I'm very excited. I was kind of bummed that her next book wasn't a memoir because her memoir leaves off with like a cliffhanger, but I'm glad that she's writing this. And if you're listening, please write the other memoir at some point when you're ready, but I'm ready for it.
Yes, I think we're both very ready for that second memoir from her. So what are you reading, Colleen?
Well, I feel guilty because you just brought up COVID. So I often talk about my comfort book, my like book that I'll read a little bit in the morning, or maybe I use at a yoga class. And I had forgotten about this book and I pulled it out the other week and I've been working through it again. It's called The Book of Tiny Prayer, Daily Meditations from the Plague Year by Micah Bucey. And what he did is like an exercise. He was just kind of putting out these little like 50, 70 word things to try to make people feel better. And for postal workers, for those who are navigating their mental health, for those who are ill, for those who are struggling. And it is, this one is what I read. I'm not going to read all of it, but for those who are holding too much inside. And it talks about developing your empathy muscle and if that's going to hurt. So I love this book. Like, I love it. I read from it all the time. So that's kind of come back into circulation for my comfort book. So if that is useful to anybody, it's not super COVID focused, so it would be okay. And then I'm talking about two books that I'm in the middle of, which is very rare. Usually I'm like, I just finished this book. So one is a memoir, Unearthing, which you sent along to me. And I am loving A Story of Tangled Love and Family Secrets. I'm a little concerned about how long it is. It is almost 400 pages. I'm not sure if we can sustain the level of interest that I'm finding in it now, but I'm loving the structure. I'm very interested in the story. I'm kind of watching it as a writer. And then the other book, because I was on campus, one of the benefits of being a professor is you can take books out forever. So I was like, oh, what's in the new section here? So I'm reading Bog Queen by Anna North, and Rebecca and I have been joking about all these Bog titles coming out. So the cover is gorgeous. The title is delightful. And then I am dumb and didn't even realize that this is the author of a book that I love, Outlawed.
Yeah.
By Anna North. That's literally sitting right here because I love it so much. So I was like, oh my God, like I didn't pick it up because of that, but that just like reinforced, okay, I'm going to read this. And I really like it so far. Like I've left other books recently, and this is, I'm like, every time I can, I want to read it. So it is a really cool premise. The writing is just like singing, in my opinion. So I'm only 50 pages in, maybe it dive bombs, but right now I'm all in, and I really like Anna North. So
yeah, I didn't realize it was the same author of Outlawed as well,
because they're so different. I mean, they are so like the premises of those two books are so incredibly different that good for her for doing that. It's really good.
So I feel like this is reminiscent of Rabbit Heart and Raising Hair. So there's another Bog book that came out at the same time, I think in the UK, so it wasn't here first.
Okay. The Bog. Yeah, what was it?
And so I have not read either one of them because each time I'm like, I think it's the one that I wanted, and then it's the wrong one, and then I think it's something else, and then it's the wrong. And so I'm just like, which Bog one is this? So is this
Bog books right now? There was the Rabbit books, and now there's the Bog books.
Bogs. So is this the one that's based in the US?
No, this is the one it's happening in the UK or Scotland or somewhere, and they find a body in a bog.
Okay, so
there is a US story, so it's going back and forth between like past is in the US and then this story where they find a body.
Is it based in on the East Coast? Okay, so then that is the one I want.
I guess you're referring to the other Bog book that's out right now.
I am. Like there's like because that is the Bog book that I am interested in. So I'll wait to hear your thoughts on that before I pick it up. But
right now to see what the other one. You keep talking. I want to know.
What I don't even remember because as I talk about my favorite table at Village Books, there's been this one, and see, I saw one when we were.
The Bog Wife is the other one. Yeah,
that's the one I don't want. Where's that based?
It's funny because that's an editor's pick on Amazon by Kay Chronister. I'm looking quickly. This is exciting podcasting. you through this. West Virginia.
Yeah,
It's an
that's the one I
Appalachian
don't want. And that's the one I see all the time, and I pick it up thinking it's the one I want, and then I'm like, no, that's not the one.
I think there's a lot more behind. I think there's a lot more publisher push for the Bog Wife. And I think the Bog Queen doesn't come up as any editor's choice or anything, but I'm telling you,
That's the one
I'm
I
not.
want.
Anna North has not, named a best book of the year by the New Yorker, Publishers Weekly, and Esquire. I apologize. Yeah, this is in England. They find a body in a bog.
Yeah, that's been the one I've been looking for. And Bog
it's
Wife.
playing alongside like a story of a druid, like a woman, like a druid woman. So you're gonna love that part.
Perfect.
Like, she's like walking across to do her spell something that you would love.
This is the one I've been looking for. I love, thank you, because I swear every time I'm like, that's the Bog book. I pick up the flippin' Bog Wife, and I'm like, that's not the book.
I should get some kind of credit for taking this out of the library and not buying it, because I'm going to end up buying it at some point. Maybe when it comes out in paperback. But anyway, so
perfect.
I'm reading. That's what we're reading.
I have that down, and now I'm going to go get that one.
Get it.
I swear to God, it was like the rabbits.
Give me another 50 pages. Make sure that I'm proselytizing correctly.
Okay. No, but I think I remember like reading it and thinking, oh yeah, like in the bookstore. I thought it was even when I was in Scotland. And I was like, oh, that looks really good. And then I was like, I can't buy anymore because we were in Scotland. And I was like, I had a limited amount of things. I already bought books. I'm like, I can't buy more books. And then I like, oh, I'll get it when I come home. And then I get home and it's a Bog Wife. And I was like, no, that's not right.
I'm so glad that I've brought the bog to you.
Thank you. It's much like the rabbit.
For each other.
Much like
when I was sliding between those two rabbit books, I was like, which rabbit book? I don't even know what rabbit book it is. And it wasn't hare. It was hare and rabbit. That's not even fair. They're not the same thing.
They aren't. But it was the HRs, right? Too, because it was rabbit heart raising hair. Like it was like.
Yeah, it was messing with me. Kristen Irvin, shout out to that book. If you've never heard us talk about that book, Rabbit Heart.
And we talked about this in the last podcast, but that's one of the books I'm teaching in my workshops if you're interested.
Yes, and this will come out before the next workshop that you're doing. And so people should be checking that out on Rebecca's webpage, because she is doing like close lead throughs of 4 amazing memoirs that she thoughtfully chose. So if you've been hearing us talk about all of them, Rabbit Heart, Sad Tiger,
The Fact of a Body.
Oh God. So good.
I love that one so much.
And then what's the fourth one?
Tell me everything. Tell me everything.
What is that?
That's the college football.
Did I read that book?
Yeah. You just read it recently because it was like
there's wrong with me, Rebecca.
There are a lot of books with that title. Tell me everything, but this one is specifically
right. This is the one that kept coming up as Elizabeth Strout.
Yeah, this is the one that's she's like an investigator.
Oh, it's a cool cover. Oh, it's old. Yeah, so good. Yeah. So those 4 books, like if you miss learning about books and you want somebody to move you through a book that you've read, like you should sign up for these. Absolutely delightful. Anyway,
I think that's a good.
I will amplify you because you deserve it.
Thank you, friend. But I think this is a perfect segue into what we're talking about today, which is about amplifying authors, amplifying books. And we talked about this before, the river of books, this idea of having a river of books moving through your home. You don't always have to read it, and you don't always even have to enjoy it. But the idea that having this flow of books, of stories, of narratives, of something that's around you and that's flowing through your lives. And a way that we do this, that we're going to talk about a little bit, is like through social media. You don't even have to buy the book, but to share it on your story, to tag a person, to like indicate like, hey, I really like this author. Like we were just talking about with Madden, with Whidbey. Like we read her other book and then we're like, oh, this new one came out. So yeah, we really want to just talk about ways that we personally amplify writers and books ourselves, and then just some other ways to do that. So what are your thoughts on that, Colleen?
I mean, I might speak from that perspective as an author first, just because I think first of all, it gives you a little boost. Like, oh, somebody liked my book. Somebody thought it was worth tagging me. Somebody thought it was worth saying something about my book. I don't need somebody to buy the book because of that. It just like feels good that somebody liked it. I don't know that I want to read if somebody tags and they didn't, but so from the writer perspective, thinking about it that way, but then from a reader perspective, those two things dance together. I am delighted when I tag a writer and then they message me, like Catherine Newman, who we have obsessed about over this podcast. Like, I just tagged her, and I always try to take a picture of the book I'm reading, because I also want to show the world that people still read books. I want to undo the narrative that people don't read anymore. I think people trust us, and so I want to amplify books by people that I am interested in. And if possible, I like to tag the author. I'm not writing paragraphs. Basically for Catherine Newman, I think I just wrote like, this woman could write a book a week and I would read it. Like, I love it. And she messaged me, not her assistant. Like, these are real people. I think we have to like undo the line. Like, these are just real people who are also on their Instagrams. Most of them probably don't have assistants. Like, they are on their Instagram as well. And then somebody said something nice to them. And then there was some other thing she put the other day, and I commented and she commented back. But there's several writers that do that. And I think that writers, it's like they're like moving the veil. Like, it's not this mysterious thing. So I have a lot to say about this, because I think it's so incredibly important. Also, it's how I find some things to read. I swear to God, I cannot watch a book talk, and I'm not on TikTok, and I don't seek book talks out, or like the slides. I really like slides that have like, this is, if you liked this. I swear I end up ordering a book from every one of those, or at least spending the time to look at it at Amazon, or sending it to somebody else and saying, hey, did you have this book on your radar? Like, this looks really interesting. So social media can be a trash pit, but also as a reader and as a writer, I think it's really valuable. Like, if you do hashtag book, it's like 10 million, like that hashtag has been used so many times. It is a space. I'm not deep in book talk, but it is a space that I think we can share what we love and also try to lift up what we love, because it is hard in publishing. And so those little tags, those little things, I think matter more than people might realize. What are your thoughts, Rebecca?
Yeah, I love that you noted too, because I think social media creates this space. I have a love-hate relationship with it, as most people do. But it creates a space to see authors as people, like you were just mentioning. Yeah. I think, especially those ones that I personally geek out over, or that I totally love. I vividly remember when Lydia liked my post, and you were like, oh, she follows you, and I was like, apparently.
Freaked out.
Yeah, so like that warms my heart too, right? As a writer, but as an avid reader and somebody who adores so many authors, to get that same reaction back from them is also super impactful. So just a shout out to writers out there, and or their publicists, their assistants or whoever. Those things matter. Like, it really does help people get connected and to feel like that they're part of a bigger community than just a reader. So a note on that. But I think most of the books I find out are through social media.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before, like book recommendations, like where you find out about books. For me, a lot of it's social media, just because and I'm not even on there as much as I used to, but to your point, like when people do the slides of like, hey, here's the, top 10 Indigenous books of the month, or there's people, I'm not in book talk world either. I'm not on TikTok, but I see the reels that they put on Instagram that are like, hey, if you like this book. And I do the same, right? If I'm reading a book, I always take a picture. I put it in my stories. I have the categories in my story, like when I have one that's called reading, and then when that got full, I couldn't put any more. I put reading 2, and now I have reading 3, and so I just like add it into a folder then that somebody can go and like just scan through. I try. Sometimes I forget, but for the most
Brilliant.
part, I
You're
try to.
so good at this. You are so good at this. You're so good at it.
Well, and because half the time you're like, is it good? And I'm like, I just started. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just putting it out there. Rivers of book. I'm reading it. Like, I don't know. Like, and because and that's why I put that one. I have my methodology is put it in my story. Let people know I'm reading it. And if I really liked it, then it turns into a post. It turns into like a lit illuminated podcast, right? Like I want to talk about it more. But I think that's even what we're doing here. Like you might be reading something that's just okay. Like it doesn't turn into like everyone needs to know about this book. By just posting it out there is a way to say, hey, I'm reading this book. And I just recently, somebody posted some books from Hawaii, and one of them was Tiana's book. And so I put that in my story and then tagged her, right? Like, it's like, Tiana. So I think there's just a way that the tagging, the sharing it wherever you share stuff is so important. And this is how like podcasts like this one, there are bazillion book podcasts. Like we are just one in a sea of many, but they're just ways to amplify the books out there. And I think also just encourage people to stay in the space of reading, right? Like this is where we lose so much when that's not part of what we are.
I think that there is, I don't want to, get too hyperbolic, but I think there is also just a really important, I hate using this word, but like resistance element. Like, yeah, I'm still reading books. Yes, I am still actively being literate. Yes, I am actively still seeking out stories from other people. That perhaps that will become a more and more important muscle for us to develop. But just creating a drumbeat that, like, yeah, I'm not going to stop reading. I'm not going to stop supporting authors. I'm not going to stop doing this thing that I think is important. If you need to couch it in some kind of language, like pushing back against book bans or book censorship or people not thinking for themselves, like, think about it that way too, then, like amplifying books, showing that you read books, showing that you consume books. This is an important thing to perhaps be loud about right now.
Yeah, and I think, and we've talked about this before too, as either authors of indie presses or going different ways besides getting in big presses. This kind of support from the reading community is so important, right? Like,
Yeah.
because we don't have a huge marketing arm, we don't have a huge publishing giant out there pushing our book, paying for our book tour. Like those things don't happen. And so I think this is also where it's an opportunity. It equals the playing field in some way and allows for the voices of others to get out there as well. So I think there's two ways of that resistance too. It's also against the big corporations to say that there's other books out here that are good and that people should know about. So I would encourage you, if you are in that space, like I'm in that space of always looking out independent, publishers and authors in those spaces, to keep amplifying those voices as well.
There's so much out there, and just, don't be overwhelmed. Just whatever you're doing is what you're doing. But
If
I'm
you
really
read,
glad you made the point, right? Like
yeah,
at least for my author page, like I do that, right? Like, and so it's time I'm taking away from other things. Like I want to know that it's useful. I want to know that it's making somebody's day better. Like that's often my intention, is like I want to have your doom scrolling interrupted by, like, yesterday I loved a Mary Oliver poem, and I just like made a story about the Mary Oliver poem, and I was like, if this just makes someone feel good for 4 seconds, that's great. So I'm glad you're pointing out that most authors, I think, are just doing their own social media as well, and it is expected of us. And so to get any kind of interaction from that feels like it's useful time, because it is time. I've complained about this to you forever, right? It's time taken away from writing. It's time taken away from reading. but it is also a great way to interact with people that are reading your work, or that I'm reading their work. So I don't want to, it's easy to dismiss social media as like a wasteland, but it is really beneficial. It is evening out the playing field. It is allowing some, I think, books to get through the noise in ways that weren't available before social media.
Yeah.
This is true
Absolutely.
for all artists, right? My friends who are visual artists, as well, my friends who are musicians, like this is for everybody. But we also, as consumers of it, need to understand that we have a responsibility to amplify, like, click, subscribe, which I know is so dumb, sounds so dumb. I sound like Jake Paul or something, but like those things do matter.
They
So
do.
they really matter. And
It
in a dumb way, but they do, because then this weird machine decides that other people who maybe didn't follow you should see it. It's very strange. It's all
yeah.
very icky in a way, but we can think about it as a way of evening the playing field. That's a good way of thinking.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's another thing that seems so pointless, or why should I do it? It's the same thing for books you like on Amazon or Goodreads. By giving it a
Yes.
5, you don't even have to write a review. Like, you can just give 5 stars, loved it, great book, period. Like, no one's expecting a novel here, but it's the same thing. There is a threshold that a book needs X amount of reviews in order to bump it into the next range to get looked at.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it stays on this ground level, right? Where it will only stay here until someone finds it. It never gets it bumped up to like, hey, you might like this book, or this is related to what you're reading. Like, so those things matter. So not only is it what how you're posting on your social media, or even how you're talking to people about books. Like, we've talked about that here. Like, tell a friend, hey, this is really good, or whether you're telling about our podcast, love this podcast, listen to it. But those other things that even in spaces you might not want to be, like Amazon, it matters.
It does.
So
Really
if
does.
you just take that moment to give them 5 stars, of course, if you think it needs 5 stars, I'm always like 5 stars. You wrote a book, great job.
That's yeah. Or I just don't review it. If I don't, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say
Yeah.
it.
If
And
I'm not
Amazon,
giving it, yeah,
not that I want to hype Amazon, but like, if you go and review one thing, then they make it really easy and they just show you everything you've bought. And you can just literally be like 5 stars, 5 stars, like you don't even have to seek those things out. It really does make it easier. So yeah, when we say review, it could just be like clicking that 5 star thing. And I made a Goodreads account just because I knew it was important with the book coming out. And yeah, these things all matter. And it's almost like as readers, I feel like a responsibility to try to just kind of keep this moving for writers.
absolutely. And it supports readers as well. Like, because if you liked it, then by giving it the rating, then other people start seeing it. I mean, I have admitted many times on this podcast that I go to Goodreads. I don't always really listen to what people say on there, because sometimes I'm like, they didn't like it, but I loved it. I mean, again, that's the whole point of all of this. But the fact that I go to it every time I'm
Yeah,
going to buy a book is an indication that I just want to see what's going on, like what's the general sentiment about this book. So yeah, that also matters so much. So
amplify, 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 amplify,
yeah.
amplify. Writers who don't fit into the traditional mold of publishing. I think that's the most, one of the most important things that Rebecca and I have always tried to do. Amplify those voices, especially follow those voices on Instagram. There are some really great people to follow on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Just do it.
Good stewards of the writing world. We all are going to have to do that work to keep books alive, I think. So it's an
Yeah.
easy way to show the machine that we are reading.
Yeah. And so
Oh, man.
as we talk about amplifying, if there is a book you have read recently that you really love, please put it in the comments. That's something for us to look at, to discuss. It's also a way to just get a book out there again in the algorithm world, by typing it out and putting it in the comments in the show. Just brings awareness to it as well.
Amen, sister.
Thank you for joining the three of us today. We are so happy that you are part of our reading community. Thank you for all your engagement on social media and the platforms of where you're listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it when you give us those thumbs up, make some comments down below, and or share out an episode with a friend. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on our episodes. And thank you so much for listening, for engaging, for following us, and for being part of our community.
Okay, well, we just talked about amplifying books, and we have always done that. We've always wanted to do that. Maybe books that have flown under the radar a little bit. And the book that Rebecca and I both really loved is I Am by Maggie O'Farrell. You may recognize that name a tiny bit because she is the author of Hamnet, which I did not finish, but I loved the movie. And this is a memoir where she basically like talks about these 17 different times she's almost died, which is a fascinating structure. Some of them are like times she almost got abducted by a serial killer or was ill. Some of them aren't nearly as extreme, but it is, and it is her daughter is then ill, and so it's like recognizing how this is repeating and the terror that her parents probably felt. It is a great memoir, I think. I don't have my copy because I loaned it to my friend who's currently writing a memoir, and I was like, you should read this. So what do you think, Rebecca? What you read it a little? I've read it more recently, but what do you remember?
Yeah, so it came out in 2017. I just looked that up because I bought it when it came out. Like,
oh my god, I had the tab open forever, and then I finally that's a lie. I bought it. I was at the Strand in New York, and it was on the shelf, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this today.
Yeah. So I read it back in 2017, and I've always loved it ever since. I probably even told you about it then, that I was like, this is so good. There's a line in there that kind of like has stuck with me a little bit, and it seems so obvious, but she says something like, as a child, you don't realize you're going to die. You need to figure that out for yourself, or something like that. That idea that you and I have talked about this too, like where our minds went as little kids and our like whole fires and all that kind of stuff. But it's an interesting truth, right? Like you're not a little kid and someone just goes to you and one day you will die. No one says that. But you do figure it out for yourself by like navigating the world. And so I thought for me that always stuck with me, that it's this thing that we teach ourselves. I mean, we from watching the world.
Yeah.
And then what does that all mean? And how do we take in what we're seeing to inform us? And so I think in some ways, right, like what she goes through and her storytelling is brilliant. Like I just loved it, right? Like I remember reading it and being like, everyone must read this book. And then that whole idea of that observation of these moments. And what does that mean? And then what is that telling us? How's that informing us as readers in this space as well? Yeah, but that's the one thing that stuck with me.
Yeah, I'm so glad I bought it. I'm so glad I read it, and maybe all of you will like it too.
Yeah, so I Am came out in 2017. Now she's a little bit bigger because of Hamnet, which is awesome. I did not read it either, but I have watched the film. But so hopefully you go back to some of her other books. And this is a memoir that was just super brilliant. Loved it.
So good. Yeah. Keep reading, yeah. Keep amplifying, keep doing all the book things like we do. We love it.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great one.
Happy reading, everybody.